Hello, welcome back to the Digi-Bros Podcast. This is Eric, and I'm your new host. No, just kidding. It's me, David. I'm gonna put this right here. And we are back with another episode of the podcast. The last one was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks. And then last weekend, we did a photo shoot and some video stuff as well, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
One thing though I like to mention is we're not going to talk about it much because it's really just preparation phase. But we got some cool plans though for Austin's business, so we're gonna have some video content coming in the next next few weeks to a month.
Yeah, I would say probably the next month to 2 months. Just I want to give us some time to be and then and then also editing too, because we want this project that he mentioned. We want it to be exactly, and then just really high professional grade. So with that being said, we want to take the time to get it to that level.
Gotcha. Yeah. So one quick topic before we talk about what we did last week for the photo shoot. I think one thing I was actually focusing on during that shoot, which I learned from other photographers and videos, is just saying to not have expectations, like not really set the bar for like, oh, I need to do this, this, and this, because it's like what they mentioned, and I've noticed in the past too, where I'll set a bar for myself where I'm like, I need to get this amount of good shots so I can use this for Instagram or TikTok, or if it was my explore stuff, which we'll talk about explore stuff. If it was that, then I'm like, I need this many photos for social media purposes and stuff. So it'd be a little like, before I go into the photo shoot, I'm already into that mindset where I'm expecting a lot out of myself from it. Whereas last weekend, I just said, all right, David, here, I got a mask. We went to a spirit store, and you already had like a little outfit, and then we just had some fun with it. And literally, we weren't even planning to do that video. We were just doing photos, and we had this whole video. So you want to start talking about?
Yeah. So, as Eric was saying, we went to Spirit Halloween, and then just kind of walked around, and then neither of us were sure what mask or what route to go, but we ended up going with a silver looking mask with like a smile on it. Pretty creepy looking.
I really like those photos.
Yeah. And so then we were still walking around, just seeing if there's anything else we could, for final touches. And I found a bowler hat. And I was like, what do you think about this?
It's funny because we were looking at a different hat, and we were like, and you grabbed that, and at the same time, we're like, yep, get that.
And so it just, that fit pretty well. And it just added one more layer to, I think, just kind of the character that we kind of started making. And I think it just adds a bit of drama to it, and that also just helps then with posing, because that's an extra prop to use. Exactly. And then you can kind of be like, okay, since I have this hat, I'm gonna walk around with this certain attitude. And so that's one small side note I would say is props make a difference, definitely, in terms of how you can kind of act, and you can get a different perspective almost, depending on what props. But anyways, so we get to the place where we're doing, where we want to do the photo shoot. And I pretty much interrupted Eric before we did the pictures, and I was like, can you help me with this idea that just popped in my brain real quick?
And I was down.
And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so we went to this little creek that was like right by where we were doing the photo shoot. And I was like, all right, let's start rolling video. And let's make like a little mini short film as sort of like, I guess like an ad for the photo shoot, like to lead up into it, just because, spooky photo shoot. So it'd be fun to do, like to try our hand at a little like spooky or suspense, sort of video. And so we did that. And that was a lot of fun, just because we hadn't really played around a whole lot with video stuff. We had pretty much all the stuff. We would get there and we'd pretty much get right to business in terms of doing the photo shoot stuff. So it was also just fun to sort of break off and do something a little bit different. And so with that, what were some of your thoughts going through when we first started the doing that video thing?
I think it was really cool because like you brought up the idea because as you mentioned, I was just kind of like, let's do these photos. I was originally thinking of doing just like quick little B-roll shots of you in the outfit, kind of like I do for other shoots where I'll do some B-roll stuff and then I'll put like the photos after, just to kind of add a little bit of like, I guess you can kind of like hype, I guess, to show off the photos, just to kind of like show the people that follow me, here's kind of like a sneak peek of what you're gonna see in terms of photos coming soon. So then I what are you saying? Oh, for the video stuff, it's pretty cool because I don't know if you really originally said, oh, I want to do a cinematic video. I think you had some ideas in terms of just B-roll shots, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you were kind of like, okay, here, let's go over here. And you found that creek area. We went over there, and you had an idea instantly of the opening shot of you going for the water, cleaning off, and you say, okay, we were like kind of breaking it down. It was cool because you're also being like the director as well as the actor. But you're kind of saying, okay, so you're gonna film me. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna clean my face, and as I go up, I'm going to act like I heard something to the right, and you looked, and as I panned, which we did that, like, I think 2 takes to make sure it was going to look like a good, well, I guess, kind of selling it. And then we also then had the end of it is you running off, and then there was that little pathway you kind of ran through, so there was a clip of me running after you, which was funny, because it's all these branches and stuff, and I'm like 6'3", so I'm just, like, hunching over, trying to run and follow him, but the one thing, though, was, like, since I didn't have a lot of like videography gear, like gimbals and all that, you liked the idea of just like the handheld shaky.
I was gonna say, yeah, definitely, especially when it comes to like horror movie type films and that kind of suspense, because it adds a kind of feeling of like you're in the action and you're kind of in the mix of things. And so I was like, honestly, if you shake it a little bit more than you usually would try to, that's perfectly fine. And I honestly think that the final product, like with the shaky camera, was really good. So I think that was a good idea.
Exactly, and I think it was cool for me because I don't really have a proper like videography experience. I don't have much. I mean, I've done like certain B-roll stuff, but the whole process was just a lot of fun because from my standpoint, I've noticed though, in which you guys may or may not know about David, but he's I think more onto the video side of in terms of you're more interested in shooting video stuff than photos. So it was kind of cool to see you in that like not the mindset, like you're in that kind of zone, I guess, of you just kind of you're just kind of like, okay, go over here, I'm gonna do this action, and then we're just kind of doing multiple takes over, and I'm still showing you the footage, and you already knew like I need to do this, I need to kind of sell that, my facial expression, my running form, and all of that. So I thought that was really cool. I gotta ask though, so you said it was kind of on the spot, but as you were going, it was impressive to me how you're able to kind of piece it all together as like a story. Like, how did you kind of come up with that? Was it more of just kind of like go with the flow, or what would you say? Like,
I would say initially it was definitely more go with the flow. But then like as like we walked down the little path to get to that creek, I started sort of forming like in my head like, okay, well, if we have, I knew what the middle of the video would be, which is me running from something, and then we get to the creek and I'm thinking, okay, well, how can we have the video like start? How does it open up? And so I just sort of got down, on my knees, and I was like, okay, so I'm, kneeling over on towards the creek, and it's cool because you have like the water running and all that, and then it's a little bit darker too because of all the tree cover, and so I was like, okay, that would like just be a cool opening. And then I don't know what inspired me to do like the whole like like getting the water and cleaning the face off, but I was like, yeah, let's that I feel like that's a cool would be kind of a cool scene. And then to start like the action part of it, since I was going to be both characters, I was like, well, then my character has to run from myself. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to, quickly look, and I'm going to need the camera to look along, towards the direction that I look, and then I, start running. And so then that's kind of how the beginning flowed. And then the middle part was the easiest because obviously we both knew, we were like, okay, this is going to be me running. And then the end part took a little bit longer too because we're like, well, now how do we have to end this? and that was actually still really fun because we got to play around with different ideas.
Yeah.
And then I decided, I was like, I'm going to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
And honestly, my thinking behind that was just to have,
separate,
to have a difference between, because essentially my like normal character was wearing my shoes and then the black pants and the gray shirt.
Yeah.
And then the evil character, Speculo.
We could dive in on that.
Yeah, definitely. And so then the evil character was wearing the bowler hat and the mask, obviously, but then also had the black jacket. And so essentially it would be similar clothing because wasn't gonna change into another set of clothing necessarily. So I was like, okay, let's do something different. And so I took my shoes off, and it was just my feet. And I think it was a cool little touch. I mean, it was interesting for sure.
It's funny,
but yeah.
I saw when I'd post like video clips and photos from that. A lot of people were like, "Where's his shoes at?"
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it'll make a little bit more sense in the video. And then I thought I kind of did because as we mentioned, it separated the two characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it adds a bit. We added like you can tell we put a bit more thought into it because it's like. I feel like people that'd be more like into like cinematic stuff, they'd look at that and be like, okay, why are they wearing the same shoes? So it's like from your perspective, like you kind of notice, okay, if we want to like really make this sell, like that's a different character from the other character, you kind of really like get into it and make sure we focus on the little details.
Right, exactly.
One thing I gotta ask though, do you have any sets of like inspirations when it comes to like ideas of filmmaking, like certain shots you want to do, certain characters, even stories? Like, are there anything like TV shows, movies you watch, actors?
Well, for this specific video, I was kind of thinking along the lines of Us. That's Jordan Peele, I believe, right? That directed it. Yeah. And so that kind of just kind of unsettling feeling, like creepy feeling. So Us, and then what's his other movie? How am I blanking on this?
Get Out?
Yeah, Get Out.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Get Out. And so just kind of like themes and elements from that to where it's like, oh, this feels uncomfy, but it's not direct like gore,
Yeah.
But it's definitely just like suspense. So I would say that was an inspiration for this. And then also sort of the like dramatic flair in terms of the pictures that I added in when I was modeling as Speculo. Honestly, like the Joker from Batman just had like that dramatic flair. Like one of my poses, I was bringing my hand down, like as if I was saying, going off into some monologue, which that would actually be cool if we did more videos and added a speaking part.
You had a few where you like reached out to
exactly.
well.
And then like the reaching out. But yeah, just sort of things that when you see someone do, you're like, oh, that's creepy. That's not super comfortable. But yeah, so the Joker is, I think, one of the characters, just in terms of in cinema where it's like, yeah, there's something wrong with this dude. So yeah. And then I just think the classic, like head tilt, that's always creepy, regardless of whatever character that is. And I can't really place specific movies or references for that, but just across the board, the creepy little head tilt.
Yeah, I like that the ending final shot, like I panned up as you put the hat on, and then you just tilt your head slowly, and I tilted with it as well. I thought that was really cool.
And that adds another, just another level of uncomfortableness as, if I'm moving one way and then the camera's moving the other way, it's like, oh, that's so weird. But it definitely works when you're trying to create that, suspense.
Exactly. Like it's funny because I think I finished editing that on last Sunday. I showed my brother Austin it, I showed my parents it, and they were both like, wow. Like, or all of them, I should say. They're like, ooh, even my dad was like, oh, wow, that's like... And I was actually kind of like impressed to hear that because I feel like in terms of me shooting video, like as I mentioned, I'm not as experienced. So to hear that from someone that that thinks, oh wow, like it actually kind of can sell that, like the suspense and the spookiness was good to hear.
And I would say like definitely something that helped like with this. Not saying that I'm like a great actor, but just in terms of like helping, you know, and just helping with ideas was I did theater class for 2 years. And so a lot of our classes, you know, for projects or whatnot would be improv. And improv is already super fun. And so just being able to think on the fly, like stuff that can go well together, or you know, if this happens, then how is the character going to react, you know? And so that sort of stuff is, I guess, kind of helped with that. And I did enjoy theater, so it's like acting is like super fun.
Do you think that a theater class kind of not inspired you, maybe like helps you find your interest in terms of filmmaking, acting, and all this? Like,
I would say it had a part in it, definitely. Just because it's like, I mean, even just because in theater class we would watch old films, because a lot of times the old films were, the way that they were shot was similar to like literal theater stages, you know, and so just learning all of, you know, that theater stuff, and in terms of like how the actors you know would work, and their kinds of mindsets and stuff, it kind of made movies, it kind of made me look at movies a little bit differently, in terms of like, I started thinking more about, oh, this is, you know, this actor is trying to evoke this emotion, or, you know, in this scene, you know, this actor is going to look this way because this, and this just happened, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So it just kind of helped me think more. And then thinking more about it made me more interested about it, because then it's like, okay, well, how can I, you know, act differently, or kind of put my own twist to someone else's, you know, to someone else's performance. Like if someone has a big performance as like Bert from like Mary Poppins, you know, and not then say, you know, I have to play Bert. I never did, thank goodness. But like just say I did, then it's like, okay, then I could take like how he played the character, and then sort of take, okay, well, this is what I, you know, these are my strengths, and then these are my weaknesses, so I could kind of have my own flair to it, and sort of my personality shine through while it's still that character.
Gotcha, okay.
So
one thing I think was kind of interesting, because you mentioned that class helped kind of spark a bit of that passion or add to it, is that my like video production / broadcasting classes for 3 years in high school, I think that also kind of helped me get more interested in cameras, because I was already interested in like shooting video stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just liked the idea of using cameras, as well as just editing too, because like even before that I would just edit random stuff, just random videos I take, even just like little video game clips. I just put them together just to like get some form of like experience with editing. So I think it's kind of cool that we both had like classes that helped kind of find that passion, I guess.
And then, I mean, also the film as literature class, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because we just pretty much every week we would watch movies and analyze them and whatnot. And so just sort of seeing, okay, the composition, like, of the shots. This is a wide shot. This is a medium shot. This is, you know, all of that stuff sort of helped me start forming an idea of how I would want to, like, do my own filming, or, you know, kind of the styles that I liked and the styles that I didn't like. So then when I was making my own stuff, it would kind of elevate my own work to another level.
Gotcha. What was I gonna say? Oh man, I'm blanking.
Train of thought.
Yeah. Oh man. I guess we can kind of dive into. Oh, one quick thing though. I gotta say. So I think I had a lot of fun editing the video, because towards the end of the shoot we were talking about certain sounds we could use. Yeah. And I had found like a copyright free kind of instrumental that was like, the intro had a little bit of an eerie sound, and then it also had a beat kind of coming, because you mentioned like, oh, if you have like some type of like hip hop beat coming, with either within the video,
adds flair to it.
So like it was fun mixing all that within the clips, and then the intro part I had added. I think you can only really notice if you had headphones on, but it had a little bit of reverb. So like when you hear that noise in the first few seconds, it goes on for a while, so it kind of echoes a little bit. And then the ending part, I tried to have the beat drop kind of go with when it revealed you kind of walking in and stuff. So that was a lot of fun too.
I was gonna say, in terms of like the sound effects, like the water, in the creek, that wasn't from your mic, was it?
That
from
was.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
what's
interesting. Know that.
Yeah,
that's
so that's
super cool. That's awesome. Because at first I was like, wow, that's some really good sound editing. Like finding a sound that like matches. Because obviously, since it's a creek, you don't want the sound of a river, because a river's too big, you know. And you obviously don't want like droplets because that's a creek, you know. And so I was like, wow, that's really good sound editing. Well, lo and behold, it was the actual creek. So that's actually super cool.
It's funny because after filming all that, I'm like, because I didn't even film with like my mic. I filmed him with the built-in camera mic. Why I was like, because I had the plan of just finding audio online and putting it in.
Well, I thought you would do that too.
But as I was like first editing, I'm like, this actually sounds really good. And as I'm adding the background audio too, it just fit together with it. There's only certain parts though where I had to add in more audio, which was I think you walking as the character on the leaves. I added more because
I was gonna say the leaf. Yeah.
The leaf walking, because at first it was like it was going and then it was muted. So I'm like, okay, let me duplicate this, add it in, mess around just to make sure it sounds like you're walking on leaves as it's going. It's not off at all. But what else is there to talk about? I think
Speculo.
Oh, the name. So yeah, I think you should share how you came up with that idea.
Yeah. So let me be honest. So Eric texts me. He's like, well, you know, we should have a name for this character. And I hadn't really thought about it. And so then I didn't respond to him for a minute because I was like, well, now I need to think. Yeah. Now I need to think about what this character is. And sort of just looking at the pictures and seeing... it's because it's like the mask is like silver and it's almost like reflective, you know. So I was thinking, you know, mirror, and you know, kind of like a version of my inner self, you know, especially because it literally I played both characters, so it was like my mind was already on that thing of okay, I want this to have to do with, you know, self, and so then I looked up Latin word for reflection, and then the Latin word for mirror popped up, and that word is speculo. And I was like,
that works because
that sounds pretty cool if you ask me. And then also, like in English, like there's so many words obviously to describe one thing, but then having an English name, it's like meh, you know, and like Darth Vader, German, for father. So it's like,
I think it's
using other language.
Yeah, using another language because the one word, like as you mentioned with Darth Vader being from you said German. Yeah, German?
For Vader, Vader's German.
I think that's cool because it's like in Star Wars that'd be weird if it's just the character name was just father. So I think using a different language for it like added like a really cool effect. Not an effect, the name I guess you'd say. Yeah.
And so that's just another layer too, of the character.
Yeah.
So
I remembered what I was going to mention earlier though.
Awesome.
So what I really did enjoy about those classes, because I also took that film as literature class, and since I took those broadcast classes, it's like when I watch TV shows and movies, because especially my broadcast class, our teacher really pointed out in commercials, in TV show clips, and even short little documentaries, he's like, pay attention to this shot. He's like explaining us to like everything about these different shots, rule of thirds, their use of logos, pathos, ethos, all that stuff was really interesting to learn about. And like after that, I'd like watch commercials on TV and I could tell what they're trying to sell to the viewers, appeal to their emotions, values, things of that. So I thought it was like a really cool thing. That's just what I remembered.
No, definitely. I agree. So yeah.
One thing we gotta say though, you guys probably don't on the video version notice the Explorer hats. So we got a little bit of news about Explorer. I shared it on my Instagram. I just decided to, for the time being, step back from Explorer just because it was a lot to handle, I'll be honest. And I think I just rather focused on doing my photography stuff, growing my name online and locally for getting more clients, as well as just doing the podcast. Because honestly, this isn't too much of a hassle because we can kind of sit down, we talk about certain topics, we have people on, and then I can just sit down, edit everything together, post it online, and then for the next following week I post clips as well. So it wasn't as much of a hassle as Explore because I was constantly trying to.
I mean, it's literally a business, so like
Yeah.
that's just a whole another slew of things.
Yeah.
Not saying that you can't do it, but that is a lot. That's a lot on your plate.
Yeah. I'm only 19 years old, so I was trying to do all these things. I was pretty much running 3 Instagram pages and like 3 TikToks. If you
So with that being said, will Explore return?
I think sometime in the future it can return. It just has to be, I guess you can say, the timing right, but it has to be at a point where I'm not like, it's not going to be such a big stressful headache, where it could be a thing where I can do it while also maintaining my photography and podcast.
Right, yeah. So then you can uphold everything else instead of like holding, one aspect of whatever you're doing and then other aspects start slipping,
And that's kind of how
That
I
makes
felt
sense.
with it because I felt like in the summertime most of my shoots were for Explore, which those were enjoyable too because it's like I was taking photos for my brand, but I was also doing portraits at the same time, hanging out with people. But it was more Explore focused than my own photography. So most of my day-to-day in the summer was trying to grow the Explore, Instagram, TikTok, and website and stuff, rather than going out and doing photography and improving my skills, meeting people, and then improving
your craft, yeah.
Seriously. So it's like
That
now
makes sense though.
with all that stuff, it was all literally just constant back and forth, and now I feel like it's starting to become more of a balance of just like photography, podcast, and then I also just have school and life and health all within the mix of that too.
But that's important though that you recognize that though.
Yeah.
And opposed to waiting till it's too late and then everything starts collapsing. So that's I think a wise choice. And I think that's just a smart move that you noticed that too.
Yeah. I'll say that I kind of wish I had done it a bit sooner, just because I had already stuff in the works. You can kind of see some stuff over there of some fall stuff that was supposed to come out, but if I returned, that would probably be out. It's
maybe do a giveaway on like Instagram or something through your photography.
I could do that.
Or your TikTok too.
Oh, true. I could do
follow, like, comment, just everything. Share.
We should do a Tesla giveaway like David Dobrik.
No, not a Tesla one. I'm just saying with the merch that's on there.
That's funny.
Guys, we're giving away a Tesla. No,
when you see those giveaways, everybody's stories just flooded with it. It's like, oh man, it's giveaway season.
Have you ever known someone that has actually won, like personally known someone? Yeah. No.
The only people I know that have won giveaways are the giveaways I did for Explore.
There you go.
When it's just there are people that entered it, and then I just buy it, send it out to them, and then they share it on their stories. So it's like, yeah, I didn't scam anyone. That they actually got it, they enjoyed it. So one thing I gotta say though is I appreciate the people that ordered stuff and followed the pages. I appreciate you modeling. That was a lot of fun.
I hope y'all appreciated me modeling.
The best model. But
thank you.
Do you have any other topics you'd like to cover? I think what we could mention though is that we're actually going to be using this a little bit more later today, because after that shoot we did with the character and the filming, we did a few photos of this, but it was also kind of getting to the point where it was a little too dark for, because I did a photo I can put on the screen for the YouTube version where it was a portrait of David with the mask and chains on, which I think that was a really cool mix. Like it blended together.
That was cool.
And so I tried doing that with like have the lighting be good enough, and then take a long exposure behind of having the cars going through the intersections and stuff, and then merging the two. So I think it was cool, but I think we can do better, because I felt like that was really like a last minute thing. So I think as we go out soon, that'll be one of the main focuses is to do a lot of stuff with his mask, the chains, and then as well as just incorporate more long exposure stuff with that. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, and then before we end this, I know we mentioned again, but I want to say, stay tuned, y'all, regarding Hoopology, his brother's company,
Little updates. We don't want to share stuff, but
I don't want to do a whole spoiler alert, but stay tuned. I'm really excited to be starting this project. We're going to be throwing a lot of different stuff at it. Hint, hint, I get to use my drone. But it's going to be super fun.
What happened when you used your drone today for the first time?
So today was the first time I used my drone in a long time, because my phone that I had was broken, and the charging port and whatnot. Anyways, I finally got a new phone, and I was really excited to use the drone along with my phone because that's how I could use a camera and whatnot. I get the drone up in the air, and yeah, it's a beautiful shot, and no SD card. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's somewhere in between the last time I used it,
April,
and today. It's gone. It's in my room, I'm sure of it, or my brother's room. But anyways,
yeah.
stay tuned. I'm excited. Eric's excited. Yeah, it's gonna be great fun.
One thing I will say though, any of you photographers, videographers, creators watching, and you'd like to be on the show, shoot us a message at Digi-Bros Podcast on Instagram, or even our own personal ones, David.not.John, or me, Eric's Photos with a Z at the end. Sir. And just tell us why you'd like to be on the podcast, what you have to offer to the show, and yeah, most likely we'll have you on because we like to have more guests on. So stay tuned for more podcasts, more content, and everything. All right, so see you guys in the next episode.